On the book cover is a drawing of a little boy and a brown stuffed lion, snuggled, sleeping in a bed. A long white thread trails from the night sky through the window and lies curled on the floor nearby.
My Brother's Lion, written and illustrated by Joshua Burleson, narrated by Richard Rieman.
A red kite sails into the deep blue sky.
For Elisha, sleep well among the stars.
Outside in the night, wearing pajamas decorated with stars, a small boy sits on a taller boy's shoulders. He holds a jar with a yellow light inside.
One warm summer night, I was out catching fireflies with my big brother. We paused for a moment to look at the stars, and he told me some were connected to the other.
The brothers look up at the sky, where white lines connect dots to form shapes like kites and animals.
He told me about constellations, certain stars that make an outline caused by a glowing thread. When I was around your age, one was cut, and I had to repair it, he said. His story took place a long time ago, when my big brother was just a small boy like me.
The brother, as a small boy, sits on a rug surrounded by toys, his mouth turned down in a frown.
Even though he was kind and fun to play with, no other kids lived nearby, so his life was quiet, and he often felt lonely. Our mom had noticed my brother was lonesome, so she gave him a stuffed lion to be his bedtime companion.
He smiles as he receives the stuffed lion from his mother.
Even though the toy looked old and battered, my brother came to love him more than anyone could ever imagine. The very first night my brother slept with his new companion, the moon was sitting just right. To my brother's surprise, his stuffed lion let out a roar and came bursting to life.
The lion is now bigger than the brother.
The lion was powerful but kind, and quickly became my brother's dearest friend. Together they found a fantastical world that existed only when the day had come to its end.
The friends gaze out of the window at the full moon.
Late one night, a glowing thread drifted in through my brother's window.
They hold the glowing line in their hand and paw.
It must have been cut loose from a constellation, my brother whispered to his lion. Wherever it leads, we should follow. Working quietly, they built a ship from the bed, curtain, and blankets around my brother's room. They had to work quickly, because our mom and dad would be awake pretty soon. Out the window, my brother and his lion sailed in the direction the glowing strand led, all the while being careful not to snap or tangle the thread. In the flying bed, they followed the winding thread, having gone past the moon. They sailed past planets, some asteroids, and even a comet in motion. They pass big, round planets. One has a ring around it. The asteroids and comet, very large rocks, make up all kinds of shapes. Far ahead in the distance, they could see the spot where the thread had been broken. They float down to the surface that has flat areas, trees, mountains, and a lake. Arriving at the star that had been cut loose from its constellation, they'd need to find the thread's anchor, but that would require some exploration. First, the search began in a chocolate swamp with clumps of cream and marshmallows. they soon happened upon a cookie crock, picking on a banana man, lost in the chocolate shallows.
On the lion's back, the brother points a wooden sword at the cookie crock.
After rescuing the banana man from the cookie crock, he picked up a long golden straw. He'd been searching the swamp for just the right one to play some banana split hoopla.
The banana man smiles as he blows into the straw, and musical notes float about.
Later, searching the clouds, they found a mechanical dragon cradled in peaks that pierced the sky. Often the dragon would make a loud hissing noise, and they wanted to find out why.
The dragon has a turnkey in its back, long wings, and a big snout. They study its parts closely as they try to figure it out.
Turned out the dragon was friendly. He just needed a little help. A steam valve on his tooth had blown open, causing a loose engine belt. After that, they searched the hills and found a tree that grew strange green paper.
The rectangles of green paper have dollar signs on them.
For some reason, it was making the animals selfish and act out with bursts of anger.
A squirrel and a rabbit fight over a piece.
They found a new use for it. My brother said it would make sense to me later. Instead of fighting over who had more of it, the animals used it as toilet paper.
Attached to a tree is a roll of green toilet paper of dollar bills.
Next, they searched deep in the murky wood and came across a grumpy goblin queen. Nothing would cheer her up. She was testy and sometimes a little mean.
The green queen wears a crown and sash. Her mouth is frowning in a downward slash.
They decided to build a stage and put on a very silly play.
They wear theater masks, one with a smile and one with a frown.
The goblin queen laughed loudly, and all her grumpiness melted away. Finally, they came to a far green country where wild kites soared high. In the distance, they spotted the anchor, which marked its location from the sky. Climbing the hills, a dangerous villain jumped out just ahead.
The big rat wears a helmet and holds a huge pair of scissors.
It was Scissor-Rat, the culprit who'd cut the constellation's thread. My brother was scared, and a part of him wanted to hide or turn back and run. But he gathered his courage because he knew Scissor-Rat wouldn't stop here. He'd cut down every constellation, one by one. Leaping high from his perch, the giant rat swung a powerful attack. My brother's sword splintered with a loud thud and a thwack. Having no defense, he took a step back, but fell to the ground in dismay. Suddenly, his lion let out a thundering roar. Which made Scissor-Rat scurry away.
A big hook in the ground has the thread tied to it.
The anchor was now clear, and with the kite's help, they tied the line tight. After a long journey, the constellation was once again fixed, and all was set right. They started for home when my brother's lion paused with some hesitation. He felt he must stay behind to guard against Scissor-Rat and keep watch over the constellation. My big brother started to cry because he was afraid to be alone again. With all their adventures, he now knew what it meant to have a true best friend. My brother sank deep into his lion's mane and gave him one last squeeze, so very tight. His lion purred back at him to let him know everything would be all right. By himself, my brother sailed back across the stars and through the Milky Way.
The bed flies past asteroids and a planet with fire inside.
It was a lonely journey home, but he remembered the way.
The brother climbs up to his window.
Arriving home at his bedroom window, he began to realize his heart would never be the same. Even though my brother missed his lion, he was grateful for their time together and the best of friends that they became.
An hourglass drops sand from its upper to the lower bowl.
Many years have passed, and I'm now as old as my brother was then. He had finished telling me his story, but I was still left with some questions. Do you ever miss your lion? Is he just too far away? Sometimes, are you lonely? Can you go back to find your lion someday? My brother looked down at me and then back up at the sky.
Threads join stars and form a lion-shaped constellation.
With a gentle whisper, he let out his reply. No matter where I am, even in places not yet known, my lion watches over me from the stars. I'm never really alone.
The brothers hold hands as fireflies rise into the dark blue night sky.
The end?
This has been My Brother's Lion, written and illustrated by Joshua Burleson, narrated by Richard Rieman. Audio descriptions written by Bonnie Barlow. Produced by Imagination Video Books. My Brother's Lion is available in book format on Amazon.com.